the men and women that bring the news to you to give you the full story. Media Lab, airing exclusively on Human Rights Radio 101.1 FM, redefining broadcasting.
Human Rights Radio.
As the fourth estate of the realm, the media stands as the watchman of the nation. On Media Lab, we dissect the news items of the day through the men and women that bring the news to you to give you the full story. Media Lab, airing exclusively on Human Rights Radio 101.1 FM, redefining broadcasting.
Human Rights Radio.
Welcome, my dear friends.
Human Rights Radio. Your 100% effort is not good enough.
You know.
Give me 101.1 effort. Your right, my right, our right. Everybody's right is protected. Human Rights Radio 101.1, redefining broadcasting.
My name is Femi Adeshino. I'm the Special Advisor to the President on Media and Publicity. I'm proud to identify with Human Rights Radio 101.1 FM. I'm glad that this station has come up at a time like this under the administration of President Muhammadu Buhari, a man that respects the human rights of every Nigerian. Human Rights Radio 101.1 FM, redefining broadcasting.
Human Rights Radio.
As the fourth estate of the realm, the media stands as the watchman of the nation. On Media Lab, we dissect the news items of the day through the men and women that bring the news to you to give you the full story. Media Lab, airing exclusively on Human Rights Radio 101.1 FM, redefining broadcasting.
Human Rights Radio.
الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر أشهد أن لا إله إلا أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمدًا رسول أشهد أن محمدًا رسول الله حي على الصلاة حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح حي على الفلاح الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله.
This is Human Rights Radio 101.1. Redefining broadcasting.
As the fourth estate of the realm, the media stands as the watchman of the nation. On Media Lab, we dissect the news items of the day through the men and women that bring the news to you to give you the full story. Media Lab, airing exclusively on Human Rights Radio 101.1 FM. Redefining broadcasting.
Human rights.
As the fourth estate of the realm, the media stands as the watchman of the nation. On Media Lab, we dissect the news items of the day through the men and women that bring the news to you to give you the full story.
Okay. Welcome to X-Ray on, I beg your pardon, Media Lab. I'm so used to X-Ray. Media Lab is a forum where we bring together media personalities to discuss very trending and topical issues of concern. The news that we have written and told you about, it is time for us to dissect and discuss it as well. And I'm not alone in the studio today. We have Mr. Malachi Uzandu, an editor with the Authority newspaper and ex-NUJ chairman. You've been here before and we brought you back again. Thank you for joining us on the program.
It's my pleasure, thank you.
On Media Lab again, my colleague Jennifer Ibrahim joins me once again on the program. Thank you for joining us on the program.
Always a pleasure.
Let's start off very quickly with the very first story and the trend. And of course, from this week's Monday, we started off with Abdul Rashid Minor, and we also promised that the story as it unfolds will be brought to you on this station. And definitely there's more trending situations unfolding gradually. As of this morning, we had not informed you that the EFCC had begun any manhunt for Minor, but obviously from the topics we are seeing coming up on the pages of newspapers, the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC, has been said to have commenced a search for the recently dismissed federal civil servant, Abdul Rashid Minor, who was also the former chairman of the Presidential Task Force on Pension Reforms. Minor has reportedly been on the EFCC wanted list for about 2 years, and the questions have always been, where has the EFCC been all this while? But now we're seeing them resurface, just like he also resurfaced. What do you have to say about that, Malachi?
Well, it is laughable because I never have any thought that the EFCC was looking for a coordinating body to so many other interagencies, you know, in the Federation. Just like, for instance, the office of the NSA coordinates all the security apparatus in the country. In the same manner, the Office of the Attorney General of the Federation coordinates everything that has any kind of legal issue, and that is to say that the Office of the Attorney General of the Federation is the one that oversees practically the activities of every other ministry in this country. And so, why do I say so? Not just ministry, but also agencies, because you discover that the legal arm of every government establishment is made up of principally and majorly law officers from the Office of the Attorney General of the Federation. And so when EFCC, being a government agency, is claiming that they are looking for MENA, or when the police are also claiming that they are looking for MENA, and the Attorney General of the Federation originated a letter on the 27th of April this year that brought us to where we are. So the originator of this mischief is the Attorney General of the Federation himself. And you can be sure that with his stature, I cannot divorce the presidential villa from his actions, because he would have taken brief from somewhere for him to have originated such a very curious and important letter that brought us to where we are. Now, if you count it from April to October, almost end of October, you know the number of months that all these things have happened. Now, it is not just the Office of the Attorney General of the Federation. The head of service of the Federation, the Office of the Head of Service of the Federation, also met in consideration of providing what I may refer to as a misnomer to the same personality. And not only that, the Federal Civil Service Commission also met as a body to provide a further impetus to the same misnomer. And then, to make matters worse, the Minister of Interior, who is like the chief policeman of the internal affairs of the country, also was deeply involved in the same misnomer. And so they cannot tell me that EFCC were looking for MENA, because EFCC had all this while, let me even say from April up till now, seen MENA. Now, if you cast your mind back, in 2015, MENA was declared wanted, and we were told that he left the shores of this country. He either came in by sea or by air. We don't have any railway connection to any, or maybe he came in through the land borders. Now, are we saying that the immigrations were not there? And of course, in almost, especially the sea and land borders, you have immigrations, you have police, you have EFCC, you have DSS, and so many other agencies that operate within those border areas. And when MENA came, all of them became blind. They saw nothing, they had nothing, and so they will say nothing. So it's a very big problem. I keep telling people in this country that if we do not take seriously the issue of rendering accounts or carrying out our duties with responsibility, then we always find ourselves where we were or where we are. Because the rational question should be, where are the responsibilities for those officers, especially the law enforcement officers? Was any responsibility attached to their duty that a man as big, because if you see MENA, he's not even a Lilliputian, he's a giant, very huge, that somebody like him could pass through the scanning machine, could pass through their so-called eagle eye, could pass the intelligence community, and then the intelligence community never knew that he came.
Is it possible that the intelligence was not taken to the airports and basically remained with the EFCC?
Now, what it tells you is that there is failure of intelligence, and that has been my position. What they bring out as intelligence in this country is somebody's personal opinion and has nothing to do with it whatsoever. If intelligence at any point fails, then it's a big problem. It means that somebody can come into this country and invade us. Intelligence is not something that you and I, it is something that is far, far, far bigger than the ordinary, postulations. Because For you to have a good intelligence community, you have DSS fully functional, you have NIA fully functional, you have DMI fully functional. For them to live up to their name, then they should be able to do a kind of spy work, espionage on some other areas, analyze it critically, and then be able to postulate, just like the Americans, the Israelis, the Germans, the Russians, just like they do. Before you even plan to get into their country, they already have gathered intelligence. And then what we are now asking are, the Nigerian embassies, wherever that Mina had gone to, are they telling us that they didn't know he was there? If the answer is yes, then they have failed. They should recall the ambassador and then the intelligence staff that were there. Now, if the other people that are here within the country also failed in providing that information, they have also failed. And yet they are still sitting in their offices and they are being promoted. So that is the contradiction in all these things.
Quite a disturbing trend. And of course, one of the key issues is that that name has been set to be on the wanted list of the EFCC. Is this some sort of a relaxed kind of case where there's an intention not to, put this guy on the books? Jennifer?
If you ask me, I would say that you have to understand that it is not something, just like he said, it's not something that would say escapes their memory, escapes their eyes. In the sense that this person, now was actually reinstated back into service. So you want to tell me that all this while when this thing was happening, EFCC was not aware? Or they were taking a break? That's not possible. So what are you trying to tell Nigerians? And I think why this issue is more pressing right now is because Nigerians want answer. It has actually come to the media. It has actually come to the open eye. Everybody is aware of what is happening. So that is why, personally, I feel that is why we're having EFCC coming up to say that he's back. He's back on the wanted list. They want him. But you want to tell me that all through this period of time, while all this was happening, you didn't know he was back in the country? Or were there laws that they should actually bypass the wanted list for him to come back into office before they start searching for him? We need answers, and right now everybody's trying to shuffle blames left, right, and center. There's lack of integrity going on right now, and I feel it's something that the body should be called, and we should get proper answers and proper solutions to problems like this. Well,
EFCC seems to be giving more answers to you barely 24 hours after President Muhammadu Buhari ordered the sacking of the former chairman of the defunct Presidential Task Force on Pension Reforms, Abdul Rashid Maina. Operatives of the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC, have traced 5 more houses to him. That's what the report says. What's your reaction to that, Mr. Malachi?
That's another laughable scenario. All this while, are they telling us they didn't know that Maina had all those buildings? You know, the issue of the pension scam is even a different kettle of fish, which has not been resolved. Now, if the EFCC if they are serious about it, remember that when Lamode was there, Lamode was also indicted in the same pension scam. Do you understand me? And so it's like a dog eating the bone that was tied around his neck. All this why did EFCC not mark out, spot all those buildings? I can assure you that if the president actually wants them to deal with this situation, there are more buildings that they will fill. After all, what we saw were more or less just one nice looking duplex, and then others were just some tiny bacha looking bungalows. That is not the real issue. We are talking about billions of pension money, blood money that people, the owners had died. Do you understand me? So it's not just all this is what they are showing us. Assuming you auction them, for instance, you won't get up to 500 million from the entire property. So it is a flash in the pan, and as far as I'm concerned, the officers whose duty there is to give instruction, to the people that carried out that operation should by now lose his office. But let me also tell you that part of the reasons why we have all this nonsense, going on in the country is that there is no due process in terms of our recruitment procedures. Right from last year, at the inception of this present government, we have had series of illegal and very curious and secret recruitment. I, for one, I published a story where the EFCC carried out some kind of they conducted interview for recruitment. They trained those people at the Kaduna Police College. I did a story, and when I confronted them that look, the way and manner of the selection of the people that went for the training was less than salutary. You know what they did? They pulled down the entire data from their website, but they didn't know I had already copied it. I still have it up to today. But they pulled it, which means that they criminally indulged in that recruitment. And when we made it an issue, of course, when you say what you want to say, at a point, the Nigerian case is like bombardment in Iraq. So the issues are too many that when you talk about this one today, and that is why those criminals succeed. Because the next moment, another issue that is also highfalutin is happening. And then the next day, another one. So many things are swept under the carpet. Or should we talk about the DSS that should lead the internal intelligence gathering? They also did their own secret recruitment, recruited all kinds of manner of people. Or do we talk about the police, whose former IG, Michael Kiro, came up and said that ex-convicts and hardened criminals populate the place? Do you understand me? That they populate the Nigerian police. So how can you? We are talking about a situation whereby a former assistant commissioner of police that was dismissed in this country is back now working as a commissioner of police. And is in a special force in the police this thing, and whereby the chairman of the Police Service Commission is telling us that most of the instructions they give to the IG, he doesn't carry out. He didn't start today. Do you understand me? It didn't start today. When the former immediate past chairman of the Police Service Commission, when he was there, retired DIG Pari Osayade, when he was there, he said the same thing. That these people operate as if they are above the law. Do you understand me? And so when you have institutions that are ab initio, immersed in crisis, can you imagine, for instance, that you have an EFCC whose chairman has been acting for almost 2 years, and whose tenure and office has become even more controversial than that place? That man will not settle down to do anything that is reasonable, as far as I'm concerned. And so all that he does, or all that he will be doing, is to do everything humanly possible to invoke a feeling that he is fit and capable of holding on to that office. Do you understand me? And all these are because the presidency, or the president himself, is adamant to all the information and the yearnings of the Nigerian populace. For goodness sake, he is the president of the whole country. He is our father. He should listen to everybody. He is not the father to a select few.
All right, so we'll take a few minutes, and when we come back, we'll take a look at other developments across on Media Lab. Stay with us.
This is your magazine radio station. Listen.
It's only today that my daughter gets just to eat food. Past 2 months now, you be in your shop selling before you know your child will disappear.
Listen.
My own. That is what is killing us. They demolish everything. They burn all our things. Even my credentials, even my children own. Up to the end, no clothes, nothing.
Government cannot give us everything we want. And as a youth, the little you have, you can use it to establish yourself.
Given a voice to the voiceless. 101.1 FM. Listen.
This is Human Rights Radio 101.1. Redefining broadcasting.
As the fourth estate of the realm, the media stands as the watchman of the nation. On Media Lab, we dissect the news items of the day through the men and women that bring the news to you to give you the full story. Media Lab, airing exclusively on Human Rights Radio 101.1 FM. Redefining broadcasting.
Welcome back. It's still Media Lab, and you're welcome to Human Rights Radio 101.1 FM. Before the break, we were talking about the situation unfolding as regards Abdul Rashid Maina, and of course, this is not news anymore. But the latest in that news is the fact that the EFCC has been said to have sealed 5 of his properties across, and including one in, there's this particular story that says a $2 million worth of mansion in Abuja has also been sealed by the EFCC. And that's actually reported by the New Telegraph Online. And it says operatives of the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC, yesterday sealed off a palatial mansion owned by the embattled former chairman of the now defunct Presidential Task Force on Pension Reforms, Mr. Abdul Rashid Maina. The property located at number 10 Amisi Musa Street within the Jabi Lake area had EFCC keep-off inscriptions on the extended fence, as at the time, according to reports, Ambazo visited. So there you have it. We've also seen reactions from many more Nigerians condemning what has happened. The latest being Obi Ezekwesili, who has totally condemned what has been going on. We also know that many Nigerians across board have been condemning the situation on ground. But again, let's also look at the possibilities. Do we see this as a high-profile case that will lead to an absolute conviction, Mr. Malachi?
From 1999 upwards, okay, let me say 2000, when the EFCC and ICPC acts were, enacted up until now. Can you tell me one single politically exposed person that was successfully convicted? Have you forgotten the case of Chief James Onanafe Ibori, former governor of Delta State? How the Nigerian courts exonerated him only for him to be convicted in London. And so it will be a mystery, it will be a cheering news if at the end of the day somebody is convicted in a Nigerian court. Is it not for us to go there, pick about 1 year adjournment, come back, before you know it, virtually all the witnesses are either dead, or they have lost track of what happened, or they have been bribed, and then they contradict themselves and the case collapses. So, and oftentimes also, from my own studies, which I'm still compiling, I've also discovered that the prosecution are also hand in gloves with the accused in terms of frustrating cases against them. It's a matter of bribery. And then what will they do? Like I stated before, they will file a contradictory number of counts in cases. Because one of the technicalities for you to lose a case is that you have duplicated your charges. So they said it in court that a case is bad for duplicity. And so the prosecution will deliberately file a 200 count charge on a single act. And then from that 200 count charge, you will find about 50 contradictions. Do you understand me? Yes. And then that case is thrown out. And by the time you begin to serialize, even to read the counts will take you 2 days. So every day the court will adjourn. To come back the next day to just read the charge, the end of work will come. Then the court will adjourn. You come back the next day, you start afresh. So you will never get easy circles. So I'm not expecting that anything could come out of it. Let me cite a practical example. Do you know one hotel at the central area? Because the hotel used to have a name of another hotel that is standing, so I don't want to mention the name. But if you are coming from the airport, after NNPC mega filling station, on that Independence Way, and then you get to the next bridge and step down, you will see the hotel by the right, beside Koscharis. That hotel was owned by DSP Alamesera, the late former governor of Bayelsa State. Since EFCC moved in, what happened? They were there. After a while they left it. All sorts and manner of people are there. The people that are there, we don't even know whether they are criminals. We don't know whether they are residents of the hotel. The workers of the hotel have been sacked. No salary, nothing. So that EFCC has stepped into a property or has been able to file a case. How many cases have they won? And to make matters worse, New Telegraph reported that EFCC gave them a value of $2 million worth of property. Do you know what it means? 714 billion naira. At times they will just throw out figures as if the figure is coming from the moon. Do you understand me? A property that is worth 714 billion naira. Is it Transcorp Hilton we are talking about, or the entire Federal Secretariat? I don't know whether you get what I'm saying. So they will just drop figure, and when they drop that figure, it is part of the procedure of weakening that case. Because in court you have to prove a criminal case. You prove everything beyond reasonable doubt. So if you say somebody stole money, and maybe the entire gamut of money that they have in the pensions board is about 200 billion, and then you are saying that somebody stole money, and part of the things that you have recovered is a property worth more than the entire money that they have there, you have lost that case on technicality. Because what you have said is that what you are looking for is not with him. Because what he has, a single property, is more than that. So he couldn't have stolen a lesser amount for a bigger value. Do you understand me? And certainly not when you have inflation in the country. And so value of property and everything is depreciated.
Absolutely depreciated.
So those are the things. It's part of the game plan, you know, to deceive the public. They are not serious over there. And I keep telling you, until we bring out merit and use merit to propagate our system, we will never get it right. We will never. Because now look at the memo they were writing. Somebody that went on a wall, absent without leave, as an assistant director. We don't know how they managed to promote him. Even the head of service letter, which Eyoita has denied, but was signed by. You know, a lot of things happen in this country. Don't be surprised that some permanent secretaries that have interest, or maybe the AG himself and the minister, you know, got somebody in the ministry and they signed on behalf of the head of service. The other one signed on behalf of chairman of the Federal Civil Commission. The other one signed. They have a way of putting something. Even after you have held a meeting, the secretary will now put his own wordings into the minutes of that meeting. And then, but that particular item was never discussed at meeting. So those are the things that happen. It's a shame, and it appears there is no solution in Nigeria, because like they say, when the citadel is corrupt, then the body politic goes bananas. If the head is not, you know, properly skewed, then every other thing you have, let me tell you, if you have you ever seen a trailer? If the head of a trailer, as it is moving, goes into the bush, the entire trunk falls off. You can't recover it. And that is the thing. Now, you are talking about head of the Civil Service of the Federation. You are talking about Federal Civil Service Commission. What other agencies are bigger than that? Now, if they should fail, who can now correct EFCC? And now look at Federal Character Commission that should also talk about, if they are talking of Federal Character. The Federal Character Commission itself is skewed. It's not in a position to control any agency because it doesn't obey Federal Character principles in the commission. Do you understand me? So those are the problems.
Well, if you're just joining us, this is Media Lab, and we try to dissect to the best of our ability quite a number of trending issues, and in this case we're discussing the Abdul Rashid Minor, or the Minor Gate. It's now a Minor Gate. The gate word has come back again, and that's what the papers are carrying now. I also have Jennifer, and you just heard the voice of Mr. Malachi Uzandu, an editor with the Authority newspaper, and an ex-NUJ chairman. We'll take a very quick break. When we come back, we'll speak with Jennifer as well, and then move to a very quick story before we open up the phone lines.
Welcome, my dear friends.
Human Rights Radio. Your 100% effort is not good enough.
You know.
Give me 101.1 effort.
We declare that human rights are for all of us all the time, wherever we are and wherever we are from. This is a matter of individual justice, social stability, and global progress. The United Nations protects human rights because that is our proud mission, and because when people enjoy their rights, economies flourish and countries are at peace. Violations of human rights are more than personal tragedies. They are alarm bells that may warn of a much bigger crisis. The UN's Human Rights Upfront initiative aims to heed those alarms. We are rallying in response to violations before they degenerate into mass atrocities or war crimes. Everyone can advance the struggle against injustice, intolerance, and extremism. I call on states to honor their obligations to protect human rights every day of the year. I call on people to hold their governments to account. And I call for special protections for the human rights defenders who courageously serve our collective cause. Let us respond to the cries of the exploited and uphold the right to human dignity for all.
Human Rights Radio.
As the fourth estate of the realm, the media stands as the watchman of the nation. On Media Lab, we dissect the news items of the day through the men and women that bring the news to you to give you the full story. Media Lab, airing exclusively on Human Rights Radio 101.1 FM, redefining broadcasting.
Welcome back to Media Lab on Human Rights Radio 101.1 FM. Now, before we continue, I'd like to let you know that we have Mr. Malachi Ozandu, an editor with the Authority newspaper, and ex-NUJ, that's the Nigeria Union of Journalists chairman, here in Abuja. Jennifer joins us as well. Let's quickly go to a separate story before we pick up the phone lines, open up the phone lines. About 257 Nigerians have been set to have voluntarily returned from Libya yesterday. The returnees, who were assisted by the International Organization for Migration, were received by some officials of NEMA at the Murtala Mohammed International Airport, Lagos. They were said to have indicated their interest to return home after failed attempts to cross over to Europe through the North African country. Jennifer, when will we hear the end of this in the news?
It is very sad because with every hardship that is going on in the country, that is why you get to see people saying they want to flee. And it is so sad because they are even lucky to return back. I have heard stories and I've read stories of people that have actually fled to Europe and they are suffering. I mean, they turn them into slaves, they work. It is so sad when you actually go online and try to look at these stories. You feel so bad for them. Now, this is it. When you have a country like Nigeria whereby a civil servant is supposed to serve the people and all he does is to loot funds, I don't think the poor masses... Let me say this. We live in a society whereby the king is the king alone. I mean, the king is the king and his household alone. Because when you get to offices, you see that in a setting, you get to see that one or two people is related to somebody that knows somebody. That is how Nigeria works. And this is the corruption that we keep hammering about every day. Now, when we have this high range of corruption, the corruption is actually eating deep into our flesh, that it actually spreads like a virus. Let me use it like that. Because when we have corruption up there, you don't expect the poor masses to get anything. It is so sad that when you the level of our feeding in a day, I'm sure some people even go 0, 0, 0. Some people don't even feed in a day. That's how bad it is. But the thing is that we have to find solution to this. If not, we're going to keep coming back to this issue. A lot of people still want to go out of this country because they have an idea that when you go out there it's better. And you have to imagine the kind of hazards they go through trying to flee. Some of them go through what's it called? They go through water, they go through sea. Some don't even get to cross it. And yet we have someone sitting comfortably in his office looting funds. This is very sad.
Mr. Malachi.
Yeah, you know
the manner in which it just seems like too many Nigerians probably are not aware of the dangers, and they keep coming back. They go. Some of them even die.
Most of them.
You know, there is one social psychologist they call David Lerner. He propounded the theory of revolution of rising frustrations, and that is precisely what is happening in the country. You can't pin it down to a particular thing, but this issue about people leaving the country in droves, going to places, for instance, like Libya, that has a very harsh and difficult, laws, and then they are crossing over to the Mediterranean. I have had the opportunity of going to the Middle East, and what I discovered is that their weather is extremely harsh. It's not good for a Nigerian. And so for somebody to attempt that suicide voyage, it tells you how frustrated that person is. It's like if you go to Benin Republic, you go to Ghana, you go to Cameroon. Most of the prostitutes are Nigerians, frustrated Nigerians. And they are not doing it out of pleasure, but because the system frustrates us. I want to cite some examples. When I was in the secondary school, for instance, I've always heard that when somebody retires from the Nigerian Railway Corporation, or from the Nigerian Airways, or from other public institutions, that corporation will employ 2 of his children as a replacement, especially if you have a credible record there, as a replacement for the person, either a deceased person or somebody who retired. Now, why was this so? It was because the expatriates who were running the Nigerian railways, as at then, were running it profitably. The Nigerian railways was not depending on subventions from government. But the moment our people took over, greed came up, and then they killed that particular beautiful process. And by the way, it didn't take the British colonialists up to 3 years to complete all the railway lines we have in this country. But it's taking us more than 20 years to simply rehabilitate, those railway lines. So it tells you how stupid and inhuman we are as a people. So when you find young people, right now we are talking about JAMB. Young people have sat for JAMB, they have their results. For them to now get enrolled into a university, they go through another post-UTME process. My brother, there are things that people don't understand. It costs about 2 or 3 times the amount of money that it takes to take JAMB to complete the processes of post-UTME. Why do I say so? They told them don't charge more than 2,000. All the universities went for 2,000. And then they connived with banks. And then they are now collecting, some are collecting 2,500. They will tell you 500 is service charge. Do you understand? But these are monies that they share. Now, when you finish, for you to now print out the what will admit you into the exams, you have to pay another maybe 1,000 or 1,500. That increases the money to 3,500 plus 500 naira, making it 4,000. Now, when you finish, for you to view your results, you have to pay another 1,000 or 1,500. It jacks up the price. Now, for you to print it out, you pay another amount of money. So who are we deceiving? At the end of the day, it will cost 4 times what it costs you to take JAMB from poor peasant families that, if they are from Kogi State, for 11 months, for 12 months, they've not earned salary. So the frustrations is high. Now, have you not wondered, why is it that every Nigerian student that goes to Cameroon, goes to Benin Republic, goes to Ghana, gains admission into a university? if the same Nigerian or other Nigerians travel to the US, to the UK, to Philippines, to Singapore, to Iraq, they also gain admission into universities. But if they are in Nigeria, they will never gain admission into universities. It is because we are not expanding the system. I've been in Abuja since 1991. Now, when we did the districts, what you have now, the district hospitals that you have in Kwale, in Abaji, in Wuse, in Gariki, in Life Camp, in Kubwa, in Nyanya. Do you understand? We are the ones they built in the 80s and 90s. They have not expanded. Do you find any district hospital in Lokogoma or in any of these other, or in FAB, any of these sprawling estates that are coming up? No. And so at the end of the day, we're even going to have health crisis. So the frustrations will keep on multiplying. And then you go to the, have you ever heard that if you see an advertisement that the Federal Civil Service Commission is recruiting, it's just an opportunity for them to fulfill all righteousness and then recruit their kids and kins. And then those who know somebody, like Jennifer has said. So there is no transparency in the entire thing. Personally, when I graduated in 1991, they say go and pick Federal Civil Service form. I say I won't pick it. I don't know anybody there. And so I don't want to be a federal. It's not that I don't have anything to offer. But I know the frustrations will be too much. I'll be moving up and down, you know, scratching my sandals and my shoe that people benevolently gave to me. And in the end, 5 years, 6 years, I will not get a job. I'll be frustrated. So I went to the private sector. Now, ask yourself again, how come that even Nigerian universities are no longer retaining their first-class graduates? Initially, if you feel that you don't know anybody, that there are issues with employment somewhere, what you do is you bend down, burn your midnight candles, and try to make first class. You already know that you have automatic scholarship. How come that companies, Julius Berger, Strabag, Vaughan, name it, all the companies that you know, no longer go to universities to ask the various departments to give them their best students for employment? It is because things have turned upside down. We are no longer looking for the best. We are just looking for somebody. Patronage is now the order of the. So that is why that level of frustration is what is driving people into the sea. If it is even Atlantic Ocean that is closer to us, it can be understood. But when somebody takes several kilometers journey into the desert and then he enters into the sea, very chilly sea, you can imagine how frustrated that person, you know, had been before he got there. And so our government should be very, very, you know, they should think twice. People at the National Assembly, they should think twice. People, the executive arm of government, they should think twice. The judiciary in particular, that they say is the last hope of the common man, they should ask themselves, are we really the last hope of the common man? The matters that come to you, how do you handle it? There was a time when I took a particular matter to FCT High Court. I met one old man. That old man was narrating his ordeal. He said that his matter had been pending for 25 years at the FCT High Court. The man was highly frustrated. I assisted him to do, because they told him that only a lawyer can do a petition. I said, no, you have a right to do a petition. So I assisted him to do a petition to the chief judge of the FCT then, so that his case can be transferred. The chief judge ignored us. That man went home in frustration. He said, well, I will adopt the native means in trying to resolve my matter. But I thank God that at the end of the day, that judge was dismissed. But not because of that particular case. He was dismissed because he was always involved in that kind of thing. Now, have you not heard about Justice Ebo, who preferred to collect 50 times his retirement benefits, and then he gave a very bad ruling that put Anambra State into cataclysm? I don't know if you get what I'm saying. And virtually all public institutions in Anambra State were destroyed by some criminals. And those criminal elements, some of them found themselves to the National Assembly, some of them to the executive arm, and they are walking about the streets, and they were given protection. And one
not mentioned. Quite unfortunate situation. What a story. You can call us up and be part of this discussion. Call us up on 081 89 991011. Zero 8189910111. We're looking forward to seeing that this absolutely comes to an end, a situation that is really, 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 really disturbing. Many Nigerians perishing, I mean, in the Mediterranean. I mean, it's just like you're seeing the Europe, but you don't get there. Hello? Welcome to Media Lab. Okay. All right. What is your name? What is your name first?
My name is Mohammed.
Okay, Mohammed, go ahead.
I want to do the fear about the corruption because that's the only one in every country. So that means my brother or his country and my family try to be that side. Let's work together, fix the country like the other. People are tired of what is happening in this country. Please, let people be serious. Let people take it be serious. Because when people get angry, I don't think we go to the program.
Thank you for your contribution, Mohammed. Please, when you call us up, kindly put off your radio sets so we don't get feedback, and let's also strive to hear you clearly. Hello?
Hello?
Welcome to Media Lab.
Yeah, thank you very much. My name is Oka from Apo.
All right.
Yeah. Idea. In fact, his contributions, it's like he knows what is happening in Nigeria.
He's not a lawyer, he's an editor. He's an
editor.
Person. Yes.
Yeah. In fact, the details he has been given is exactly what is happening in this nation. And nobody cares to look at the issues. The frustration continues to build up. Nobody cares to know what is happening. The government doesn't care about the people. I don't know, the issue of Myanmar, which he is talking about. The issue of Myanmar, a lot of people are commenting on issues, they don't know the background cases. The issue of Myanmar, he is involved in a fraud, according to them. But if you go back to see what happened in that place, there are so many other issues that have been swept under the carpet. There were a lot of what we call heads of service who passed through that means before the issue of presidential task force came into being. They carry out all this pension fraud, went through all the money they made before inviting Mena to come there. He came, he recovered and then took home. That is his own business. But then those people who have been committing this pension fraud, where we are going, authority, some of them don't even know what is happening in Nigeria. They are just there. As soon as they get what they want, they continue moving about as if nothing is happening. But we thank God we are still alive. Maybe one day God will give us somebody who has direction to direct this country aright. Thank you. That's my contribution. Thank you.
And thank you for contributing on Media Lab. We'll take one last call before we wrap up the program. Go ahead and make your contributions known to Nigerians. We started off with the Abdul Rashid Minor story. And
Yeah, my name is Luke. I'm calling from India.
There's a very noisy background there. I may not be able to take your call, unfortunately, because, I mean, it's no point airing the call if it's not clear enough for people to hear you. and that in itself will not help us communicate properly.
Hello?
Hello?
Yeah, good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon.
My name is Elizabeth. I'm coming from Korea.
All right, the same person.
Yeah, Mr. President, I thank you very much. I'm the first person in the house.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, the topic this afternoon is very, very nice. Very interesting. Hello?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yeah, we are talking about protection in the country and corruption in the country. There is this aspect of this sector that I want Nigerians, the authorities to give their thoughts to because it's frustrating. Many people are suffering it, and if anyone can find it and stuff in that very tight corner, it can, lead to, living the country on the side of perspective. The issue is power holding. Many people are suffering. I have done my investigation. I noticed that so many people are not using prepared and suffering. They are paying the bill of accumulated debt by power holding. Now, when somebody is not paying what he or she has used, is it not frustrating? When somebody is subjected to pay what he or she has not used, is it not frustrating? And government is keeping quiet, and people are dying in silence. It's frustrating. When I'm not saying we are not taking aggressively. Never power holding will come and disconnect somebody's life, and they will keep on blaming the same person. And we have the government, and we have the people in the authority. From the righteous, never power holding is using people who have no prepared meter to be generating money to pay their salary to meet their targets. And the government said, one winter in the country, one winter prepared in the sea of this very country or that. So, Mr. President, I would be glad if this very thing is taking serious. We are such like people power. People are suffering. What do you think are complaining? I was at the say the other day. The same story people are calling a list of complaining letter there. And nobody is doing anything about it.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I think it's a general knowledge when it comes to that aspect. But final comments from you, 10 seconds if you can. Let's start with Mr. Malachi.
Well, I think the Nigerian justice sector ought to wake up. I think the Chief Justice of Nigeria and his lieutenants at the Court of Appeal, the Federal High Courts, as well as the state chief judges, they should wake up and carry out very serious reforms, including the Attorney General of the Federation, because they have to bring out the laws. It is the law that is draconian, that is dragging us back, and we need to have a lot of reforms. And then secondly, the executive arm of government, because we're operating more or less a unitary system of government, should be alive to its responsibilities and do the appropriate thing and listen to the cries of the masses and take the appropriate steps and bring back sanity into the system.
All right. Jennifer?
I'll just say that we hope that this whole case is going to come to an end, whereby we're going to see more results, and we're not just going to be fooled like in the past.
Okay. And for me, I'd like to say thank you. Media Lab continues tomorrow. Have a great day ahead. Up next, Health is Life. Bye-bye.
Anointed Son. I'm from Cross River State.